You know those little things we ask for every day, like passing a stapler or getting a quick answer to something, maybe even, I don't know, a ride somewhere.
Yeah, the small favors, they make things run smoother, don't they? Work, life in general.
Totally. But what happens when you're, say, the new person and you're trying to, figure things out, and every time you ask for a little help, you just hit this wall, like a polite wall, but still a nope, not right now kind of thing.
Oh yeah, that's surprisingly common. That feeling when you realize asking for something, even something tiny, isn't always straightforward.
Especially when everyone's rushing around, right? Super busy office.
Exactly. Everyone's juggling their own stuff. We've actually got some really interesting source material today that drills down into exactly this.
Okay.
Specifically, it looks at how we can maybe improve our chances of getting a yes, even if we have to interrupt someone who looks completely swamped.
Hi, let's get into this then. Our mission for this deep dive is pretty focused, isn't it? We want to sort of unpack the language, the actual words, and the strategies that can make asking for a favor work better.
We're going straight to the dialogues and explanations in our sources to really understand the nuances.
Okay. So where should we start? Maybe some of the basic language first. Things you hear when you're new.
Good idea. Like that phrase, welcome on board. Pretty standard when you join a team.
Right. Welcome on board. What does it really signal, though?
Well, it's essentially welcome to the company or welcome to the team. It's that first gesture of inclusion.
Like you're joining the crew?
Kind of, yeah. The source material mentions it's a bit like welcoming someone onto a ship or plane. Metaphorically, you're joining the company on its journey. You're part of it now.
Okay, so it's a nice tone. Now, what about when people say they're busy? The phrase about to came up.
Ah, yes. About to. It's just a really concise way to say you're going to do something very, very soon. Like, imminently.
So, I'm about to go out for lunch, or I'm about to head into a meeting.
Exactly. It immediately tells the person approaching you what your immediate plans are, and therefore why you might not be available, like, right this second.
Gives context for the busyness. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Another word we saw was instead. That seems key for, like, alternatives.
Instead is super useful. It means in the place of. So if someone can't help you, suggesting maybe ask John instead, or could we do it tomorrow instead, keeps the door open.
Right. It's not just a dead end. It's like a redirect.
Exactly. Redirect or postpone rather than just a flat no.
Okay. And then there's the big one. Interrupt. We all do it, but nobody really likes doing it or having it done to them.
True. To interrupt someone is basically to break their flow, right? Whether they're talking or deep in work.
And it can feel a bit, well, intrusive?
It can, because you are potentially disrupting them. That's why how you start that interruption is, really critical.
Okay, so we've got some of the building blocks. Let's talk about the actual asking part, the nitty-gritty.
Right.
Our source material had this new employee, Rachel. She started off really direct. Can I ask you for a favor?
Yeah, very straightforward, gets right to the point, which can be good. But the source material also suggests some variations, alternatives that might work better sometimes.
Depending on the situation.
Exactly. And maybe who you're talking to.
Okay, like, may I get you to do me a favor? The example was about carrying a package. What's the difference there?
Yeah.
It feels a bit more formal.
It is, yeah. May I just dials up the politeness factor a notch compared to can I? It feels a little less assertive.
More respectful of their time, maybe.
Sort of, yeah. And when you're new, maybe leaning towards slightly more formal politeness isn't a bad strategy.
Okay, what about, will you do me a favor? Like passing a file. How does that one feel?
Will you can sound a bit more direct again. Maybe it implies you know the person better, or there's already a bit of a give and take relationship established.
So probably better with colleagues you actually know.
Could be, yeah. With someone brand new, it might feel a little presumptive, maybe. Context is everything, really.
Which brings us right back to Rachel's problem, doesn't it? Trying to interrupt colleagues who were clearly busy, she kept getting shut down.
Right. And this is where those buffer phrases become so important.
The polite openers.
Exactly. The sources highlight things like, I hate to bother you, but, I'm sorry to bother you, but, and I don't mean to bother you, but.
They sound similar, but they all kind of do the same job.
Pretty much. They're not just filler words, they serve a real function.
It's like saying, look, I see you're busy, I get it, and I wouldn't ask unless I kind of needed to.
That's exactly it. You're aware you might be imposing. You're not just oblivious to their workload.
Acknowledging their situation first.
Yes. It softens the whole interruption before you even say what you want. It's like building a tiny bit of goodwill right at the start.
And you can combine them, like we saw. I hate to bother you, but can you do me a favor? That does sound, well, gentler than just launching into the request.
Definitely. Starting with that acknowledgement, that consideration, can make the other person just a bit more receptive, even if they still can't help right then.
Okay, so we've looked at the language for asking. Let's switch gears a bit. The source material also showed a second interaction, one that went much better for the new person.
Ah, yes, that second dialogue. It's really instructive to compare them. Notice how it starts.
Someone says, "Hi, I just wanted to welcome you on board." Much warmer.
Right. That initial welcoming gesture, it just changes the whole vibe compared to Rachel's earlier attempts. It feels more inclusive, more supportive from the get-go.
Yeah, totally. And then the new person replies, "Oh, thanks. I was actually about to reach out to you." That feels less like an interruption and more like, I don't know, a connection was meant to happen.
Exactly. And the colleague responds with something like, "I was just about to suggest we set up a time." It feels collaborative, proactive.
Not like you're pulling teeth to get their attention.
Precisely. It shows they're willing to engage, to help out. And look at the scheduling part. Would 11 a.m. work instead? Offering an alternative.
Using that word instead again, showing flexibility.
That flexibility and consideration, they're just key for good communication, especially in these situations.
And interestingly, even in this really positive exchange, someone still says, "Sorry to interrupt."
Yeah. It seems like it's almost become a standard polite entry phrase in professional settings, hasn't it?
Like a little signal of respect for their time, even if the outcome is helpful.
Exactly. And then the suggestion, maybe instead just focus on familiarizing yourself with the general outline. That's another great example of offering an alternative path. It makes the original, maybe implied request feel less critical right now.
It really does show how just a few thoughtful phrases, offering options, acknowledging busyness, it can completely change how your request lands.
Absolutely. It's night and day sometimes.
Okay, let's maybe quickly recap some of that key vocab just to nail it down.
Good idea. Let's run through the list from the sources review section. First up, bother.
Right, basically means to annoy or disturb someone. And asking, "Can I ask you a favor?" kind of admits you might be bothering them.
Exactly. Then the act itself, ask someone to do a kind and helpful thing. That's the core of asking for a favor, like, could you bring this to HR for me?
And on board.
Meaning, join the company, like in, welcome on board, Sarah, standard greeting.
Got it. And can't bother you is listed just as a polite way to ask if you can interrupt.
Yep. Then instead, in the place of something else, like asking Kathy instead.
Okay, sorry to interrupt. The phrase you use when someone's already busy talking or doing something.
And finally, do me a quick favor. That implies it's something small, won't take long, like close the door behind you.
So putting it all together, it really seems like the way you ask those subtle language choices, especially when you're potentially interrupting, it matters a lot.
It really does. It's all about showing awareness, showing respect for their time, offering that bit of flexibility. These aren't huge changes, but they can make a massive difference in how people respond and, in building those positive working relationships.
Makes you think, doesn't it? How you approach these things yourself. Like, how might being more conscious of these phrases actually change how you ask for help or collaborate in the future?
That's a great point. This whole deep dive into the language of favors, it kind of highlights how powerful these subtle communication cues are.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder what other everyday interactions at work could benefit from this kind of linguistic awareness. Maybe how we give feedback.
Ooh, that's a good one. Or even how we respond when someone asks us for a favor, especially if we're busy.
Exactly. It's just a good reminder that so much of effective communication really is hidden in those details, isn't it?